Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report, prime time for Friday, April 2nd, 2010. Glad to see you're safe and okay, David.
Yeah, the way you were driving in Phoenix? Are you kidding me?
I am not going to be checking my mailbox for a very long time.
Dude, you're going to get so many speeding tickets.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, thank you. Well, anyways, Damian Nelson sitting here alongside David Hero, and it's the Pro Wrestling Report prime time. David, a lot to talk about this week, so let's get right down to it. Firstly, let's talk about some of the top matches at WrestleMania 26. We were in Phoenix, Arizona at WrestleMania and saw the show live and gave a full review of the show on this past Monday's ESPN radio show on 540 ESPN, available to listen to on all of our media channels as well. But I think we need to talk visually, at least, about some of the matches, the first of which being the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker.
Lived up to the billing. I think some people expected more. I expected less. I was very pleased. I thought it was a solid match. I mean, two guys that should know how to have a great match. 20 years in the business, at least, for each one of them. They understand theory. They know how to work a crowd. They understand a false finish. And
we got all that.
And we got everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were even at one point in the match, I thought Shawn Michaels was going to win.
Right.
And
you were the one.
Where's the fudge?
The interns are chowing down on it over there. You were the one who said that there was no chance, I believe those may have been your exact words, no chance that Shawn Michaels would win that matchup.
Well, yeah, it was one of my predictions.
But you thought for a time,
Vegas called, and they were pretty upset with me. I won so much money. You know what? Since WrestleMania, since the Monday night show, I've seen a lot of tweets, a lot of emails, people distraught about Shawn Michaels retiring.
A lot of tweets, including the one you sent out with some of the fans in attendance at the University of Phoenix Stadium.
We were sitting there. We nudged each other and looked at the poor guy. We're thinking, really? You're 40 and you're upset about this?
It's still real to him, damn it.
And then I realized it was Frank. No, but really think about it. Shawn Michaels wanted to retire.
Right.
And he chose the one opponent he thought he could steal the show with.
Yep. And
he wants to go home. So, yeah, let's be upset that the in-ring performer Shawn Michaels is gone, but let's be happy that he got to leave on his own terms. He wasn't crippled. He's able to, be a daddy. He's not able to be a husband and give the time to his family that us as selfish wrestling fans have taken from him for so long.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wish Shawn Michaels the absolute best and hope that he stays retired, which I'm sure he will. I don't think he has any desire to ever get back in the ring because
to perform as a professional wrestler.
Yeah, he may come back as a guest host or just to pop in or whatnot and give a super kick to somebody, but yeah, I don't foresee him ever lacing up the boots again.
It was a great matchup. Unfortunately, too many people said, will it top last year's? And that really wasn't what it was all about. It was, can you get a great match? And we got a great match. So whether it was as good or not as good as the prior year's matchup, it was still an entertaining wrestling outing.
I think it did top last year's match. I thought the finish was far better than last year.
Told a great story.
Yeah, and that's
Shawn
what you want.
Making Undertaker do it.
Yeah, that's what you want. I mean, it brought Undertaker out of character for just a millisecond, where he was actually debating if he wanted to do this or not.
Much like HBK did to Ric Flair back at WrestleMania 24.
Yes.
Good matchup. Another good matchup, which I don't think I would have expected it to be as good as it was going into the event. John Cena versus Batista for the WWE Championship. Batista losing that title to John Cena. John Cena and Batista delivering one of the top matches on the card at WrestleMania 26.
Well, a lot of it right there is a lot of pride and ego because both guys knew that everyone was there to see Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. And like a few years ago when Batista wrestled The Undertaker and lost, he felt that was the match of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Batista has the potential to have good matches.
Yep.
Not great, but good.
Right.
And they definitely pulled out all the stops. I mean, two big guys, actually put on a good match.
Was this a good or a great match?
It was a really good match.
Given the two performers involved, was it a good or great match?
It was a great match.
I would tend to agree with that. One that the crowd was completely into, one that the crowd was more solidly behind Batista. Well, it's difficult. Here's the interesting thing about the live Cena experience. And depending on the city you're in, it changes. But you you know they're going to announce him. His music hits. You get the huge pop. As soon as that pop dies down, you get an almost equal level of booing and hissing. And it turns. It's almost like it turns on a dime. Same thing. Cena gets a big move in. You hear the quick pop, and then the boos. It's just it's an amazing dynamic that I don't know a wrestler has done. Not that he's doing it deliberately, but I don't know if a wrestler has garnered that kind of reaction in history.
No, there's just, it's almost a 50-50 split.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen that in a long time, if ever.
Chris Jericho versus Edge for the World Heavyweight Championship. We do have a big story later in this program regarding the World Heavyweight Championship that many of you have probably heard about already, but we will give you more information on it later on in this program. But Chris Jericho able to retain the World Heavyweight Championship against Edge in a good match.
See, here's the thing. Everyone expects 5-star matches out of Edge and Chris Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? When you're at a WrestleMania in front of 65, 70,000 people, 72,000 people, not everything always, comes together. I mean, if it was a smaller venue, I'm sure the match would have been great because you would have heard more of the crowd into it.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
But, I thought it was solid. I was happy to see Chris Jericho leave the champion.
Yeah.
I think he deserved it. He earned it for the whole year. I don't think Edge should just come in and win right away.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but the last main event championship matchup that Jericho was in at a WrestleMania was the year it was overshadowed by Rock Hogan when he had that match with Triple H. I believe that to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
So, to that point, he absolutely deserved it. And without it, we would not have been able to hear that amazing commentary he did on NXT this past Tuesday night. Him, Josh Matthews, and Michael Cole were tremendous. I said it, and I think it was Jericho being the catalyst. He says to Josh Matthews at one point, Josh says, I've been in the ring, I've wrestled before. He's like, oh yeah, the one match you had on Tough Enough? And Josh responds, I've been in 2 matches, thank you. Just good stuff. It felt natural for once coming from a WWE broadcast team. Last point about WrestleMania, as we talk about broadcast teams, and remember, you can catch our full recap of the event from Phoenix on our media channels, including YouTube and PWRshow.com, and to our radio show from this past Monday night. But Jim Ross,
that was a hot
not
show
used.
Monday night, wasn't it?
It was very hot, and some people were hot about it. Jim Ross, not used on WrestleMania. That was known going into it. However, a lot of feedback that we've gotten, David has said that it was one of the, if not the most glaring thing that was missing from the card.
Well, from what I've been told, what I've heard, is that originally Jim Ross was signed on to do one match at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm. Like he did at WrestleMania 15.
And it would have been Taker and Shawn Michaels.
The one he wanted
that was the plan. Turns out, Vince changed his mind. He says, you know what? You're going to take away too much from that match. We're not going to use you. How do you say Jim Ross would take away too much?
It would have made the match even that much more important and spectacular because I think it did so for Rock Austin at WrestleMania 15 because JR returned, made a big deal. Cole announced him, came out, did the match.
Jim Ross is ready to come back.
Absolutely.
We saw him at WrestleMania. He looks great.
He does, actually.
He's lost some weight. He talked fine.
Yep.
You guys shared
here's the
drink
problem.
or two together.
Where does JR get his send-off? Because he's essentially done, from all reports we have, broadcasting WWE wrestling matches.
It'll be on a Monday Night Raw.
Yeah. This could have been it. I think it was a miss on their part.
Politics. Right now, Vince is going in a different direction. He knows if he brings Jim Ross back, everyone's going to want him back. Right now that he's off TV,
he's forgotten about.
He's forgotten.
Well, he's not forgotten about, but he is not part of the. Yeah, he's not part of today's cycle, if you will. As we talked, we'll have some more conversation on that on some upcoming episodes. But again, listen to the rest of our review at pwrshow.com from this past Monday's 540 ESPN radio show. David, TNA Impact this past Monday night was able to squeeze away about 825,000 viewers.
Somebody saw it?
From the wrestling audience.
You watched it?
0.56 was the rating, the lowest, I believe, in Spike TV history for TNA. And
what did they really expect?
Exactly.
The night
well,
after
they who?
WrestleMania?
TNA or the fans out there?
Everybody.
Well,
The
TNA
night after
expected,
WrestleMania.
I would say TNA, given the ratings of the last 2 weeks, probably expected this or less. The fans out there, however, are of course saying that this is the nail in the coffin for TNA Impact.
Nah, not yet. They got at least another good 6 months.
The highlight of the night, I would have to say, based off the buzz out there, is this whole Orlando Jordan thing.
That's the highlight?
According to the buzz out there, a lot of people talking about it. If you didn't see it, Orlando Jordan, well, many people didn't. Orlando Jordan is, he's lowered from the rafters, wrapped in caution tape, and then he goes on to Tyra Banks' set, I think, and sits there, and I don't think it was ever mentioned or
That
talked about
is
again.
why that rating will drop. If you're flipping back and forth on a commercial break and you see Orlando Jordan coming down to the rafters,
Wrapped in caution tape, wearing underwear.
who in the blue hell wants to watch that?
I think it was their second highest rated segment. I ain't lying. I think it was. But that segment also included the Pope's promo.
Yeah, so both of those two together. I mean, think about it. You know what? Here's the thing. If they're trying to redo the Attitude Era,
Yeah.
the Attitude Era was done so well, so slick, that the potty humor or whatever
Right.
they're trying to do would go over the kids' heads and the adults would get it. They're not even trying.
They're saying it wasn't very popular amongst many of the talents in TNA. However, it was very popular with Eric Bischoff and Vince Russo.
Yeah, well, you know what? If the talent is going to lose faith in Russo and Bischoff, then everything is going to go that route. That was a stupid segment.
Speaking of maybe not the smartest thing they've done, Austin Creed, Consequences Creed, has been released from TNA Wrestling. Along with the Nasty Boys. There are 3 talents gone from TNA. You know who Consequences Creed is, right?
Of course
It
I
was
do.
like the Apollo thing.
Yeah, he was the Apollo Creed.
Yeah.
You know, and he's a talented young kid.
Amazingly
Smart.
talented, yeah.
But let's face it, I mean, TNA doesn't know what direction they're going in right
70 talents or so on the roster. 2 hours of TV to fill each week.
now. 70?
And their numbers
That's
crawling up
probably
there to around
30
70.
knockouts. I'm serious, coming up, bet you there's at least 20.
Yeah, it's true. But they are gone. The Nasties apparently wrapped up in a bit of a controversial situation where they acted out in a situation where the Spike TV executives were, and showing their ass in that instance was not a good idea because they have been since released.
You know what? I'm going to get Knobs on the phone. We're going to find out what really happened.
There's Knobs on the phone!
We might get him Monday.
We can't do that again.
Really?
I am still trying to figure out what he said last time he was on the show.
Well, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. How can they let that talent go?
Coming up Monday night, TNA Impact will be on 1 hour earlier. They say it's a 1 week special, but don't let that fool you, folks. It is a test to see if the extra hour will gain additional viewers, if not only for that hour. Your thoughts, David Hero?
I think it's the smartest thing that they could do. They should not be going head to head right now. They're
It
not
was
ready.
a stupid move.
They're not ready. They don't have the horses established to do that.
Right. I read an interesting comment I believe we got via our email account at pwrshow.com. Someone was talking about RVD and maybe not understanding his significance in the business and saying TNA hasn't really introduced RVD.
Gosh, didn't I mention that a while ago? You got to introduce these guys back in the general public. You know what? Think about it. The Smackdown before WrestleMania,
Mm-hmm.
they had Jack Swagger at the announcers table
Right,
during that last match.
right.
You don't
I
think
think it was
that
Raw.
Okay, Raw.
Or some show, one of them.
You don't think that was their way of reintroducing Jack Swagger, giving him a one-on-one shot to say, hey, here's who this guy is, and lo and behold, he goes and wins Money in the Bank?
Which none of us predicted.
No.
Not even
But
you.
you know what? If I was thinking, and I would have really thought about that, it made perfect sense.
Let's talk about WWE Raw from this past Monday night, which was, of course, headlined and main evented by Shawn Michaels saying goodbye forever. Very well done segment. It was Shawn and Hunter for a few moments, but Shawn really just talking to the fans in the world, thanking all the people he needed to thank, which I think he went on some unique trails and thanked some people who never really get credits
He
for the
thanked
production
Raggedy
people.
Andy.
One of the production people,
Yeah.
Jim Ross and things of the like. But a very class move by WWE with that Heartbreak Kid goodbye from
Yeah.
this past Monday night.
You know what? Everyone's thinking, oh, who's all going to come down to the ring? Didn't need that.
No, not at all.
I thought it was, it just made it different than the whole Ric Flair scenario.
Yeah.
And I thought it was very, very well done.
Yep.
I thought Taker coming out, tipping his hat was well done.
Yep. You know what was good too is a lot of people have commented on him walking out of Mania, and the shot they used, from outside the stadium, showing him inside. It was such a telling shot, where the just simply using that particular camera shot told such an amazing story of you're looking into this man's final night in professional wrestling. Just so well done from a presentation standpoint by WWE, and I thought it was genuine. And as you said earlier, and as I agree with, Shawn ain't getting back in the ring.
No. And what I thought was...
None of us could have said that about Ric Flair. We hoped it, but none of us could have said that about Ric Flair after he went through his retirement.
No, well, but...
As many people as he promised.
Yeah. Ric Flair, God bless him, but he needs to retire again. He needs to retire. But the amazing thing about both shows, and I commented on this earlier, Raw and Impact ended up with all 5 members of the Clique.
Again, on
Hunter,
camera at the same
Shawn
time.
Michaels, X-Pac, Hall and Nash.
And Hunter paid a little tribute to the Clique earlier, saying, we'll always have this.
Mm-hmm.
When he had come out. Well, how great was that, by the way, when Sheamus attacked Triple H during that heartfelt moment? I almost popped right out of my seat. That was great. Sheamus now with a pipe and a T-shirt.
He does have a T-shirt. It's about
Black.
time.
And it's black.
Yeah, well, shocking. Wrestling T-shirt black.
Well, I mean, Sheamus, a lot of contrast.
Should it have been green?
That's sort of cliched, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very well done. But I think another thing that is worth discussing is Randy Orton teaming with John Cena.
That was ridiculous. I hated that.
Why so?
I hated everything about it.
Why so?
Because it's like having George Bush team up with Osama bin Laden. It is. Those two guys hated each other for 2 or 3 years straight.
Yeah. Ending
And-
just, 2-3 months ago?
Yeah,
maybe
and all
4
of a
months
sudden
ago.
now they can coexist together?
But Orton's a good guy now.
Come on. Oh, that's why. They wanted to make sure Orton was going to be the true baby face that he is.
Brett-
And then, no. And then how they have Randy Orton beat everybody, including the Money in the Bank winner, Jack Swagger.
Right.
It was ridiculous.
Well, Jack Swagger, who almost cashed in that Money in the Bank
it's
earlier
a
in the
good
evening.
thing he didn't, though.
Good thing he didn't. Randy Orton, I'm on record saying best prick heel of all time, and I just don't know how he could ever be a face, a true face.
Stone Cold Steve Austin did it. The Rock did it. Roddy Piper
Nobody
did it.
hated Austin.
Who, by the way, will be in Milwaukee in a couple weeks.
Nice.
BlizzardBrawl.com.
Place you go for information on that.
April 16th and 17th.
Austin was never hated. People did not
What?
hate Austin. When did they hate him?
Before his feud with Bret Hart?
Oh, he was not hated. Not compared to Randy Orton.
Okay, Triple H. Great heel. Monster.
It wasn't hated. People hate
Oh my
Randy
God!
Orton.
Are you giving fever?
People hate Randy Orton.
People
He's got
hated
hate
Triple
heat.
H. They
No.
hated him.
I,
They did. Oh, Triple H has the belt. They got,
but he never truly turned face. All he did was tear his quad and come back, and he was a face.
Triple H was the #1 heel in the company.
But what,
During
he hated?
Evolution,
Hated
yes.
like Randy Orton hated.
Yes, because they felt he was abusing his power.
Oh, that part. Oh,
Triple H got true heel heat every time he'd come out. And that's what the thing that drives me nuts. For as much as everyone hated Triple H,
Yeah.
now they just love the guy.
for the most part, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't picture it and visualize how Randy Orton can be a good guy after all the evil he's
He
done.
was a good guy once before.
For about a minute, didn't last long.
Believe me, Randy Orton, you got to be a great heel to be a great babyface.
The Hart Dynasty gets their chance finally
It's
for the
about
tag team
time.
championships, and they come up short because The Miz is awesome, and now they are relegated to superstars again last night.
They'll be back on Raw next week.
There's unfinished business because The Miz and The Big Show walked out on that tag team championship opportunity, which involved Bret Hart and The Miz in a unique confrontation, which was very well done. It made sense. I hope they continue with it, not just because of our fondness for the Hart Dynasty, but it just makes so much sense. They got the rub from Bret Hart on Monday night.
They got a huge rub. They got the big rub when they beat up Vince at WrestleMania.
Tyson wasn't pulling anything back when he was.
No, hey, when you got a chance to take a few snug shots at the boss,
don't-
why wouldn't you?
Next week, the host of Monday Night Raw is David Otunga.
Really?
He won the matchup on NXT, and thus he is the guest host next week of Raw.
Wow.
NXT put a lot of questions. They answered a lot of questions this past Tuesday night. Firstly, announcing that it would be superstar polls and eliminations going forward, and that the person who wins ultimately gets a championship match, not a world title or WWE, but a championship match of their choosing at a pay-per-view by the time it's all said and done. So that buy-in factor that they need to make people really buy into the show
So
is
maybe
now there.
Daniel Bryan against The Miz for the U.S. Championship?
Could be. Could be.
You
Daniel
know what?
Bryan, the one number one amongst the pros poll.
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to be. The Miz against Daniel Bryan. U.S. title match. The Miz is tired of taking all those belts around. That's why he's wearing the jacket. I figured it out. Because when he has the jacket on, when he puts the belts over his shoulders, it's not, chaffing his shoulders quite as much. Weren't you paying attention to the press conference?
No, I was distracted.
Yeah.
We've got a poll at pwrshow.com, which is an ongoing poll. It started on March 8th, and it will continue through the end of this saga. Which show is better? Not which show got the better ratings, which show did this, did that, but in your opinion as a wrestling viewer, which show is better, WWE Raw or TNA Impact? You can vote, and the voting is as follows since March 8th, and as of right now. 57% in favor of TNA Impact being the better show, and 43% in favor of Raw being the better show.
Really?
You don't agree with those numbers?
Those are all the
Go and
Pope's
vote.
fans.
Who?
Those are all the Pope's fans.
Oh, the guy who's in the main event at
He's
Smackdown.
not in the main
Oh, I'm
event.
sorry, he's in a headlining match.
He's
at
in a
Smackdown.
headlining semi-match.
Let's talk about WWE Smackdown, which is airing tonight, and this is a spoiler alert. So, if you don't want to know what's going to
I
happen
gotta tell
on
him because he
Smackdown
gets out about this kind of stuff.
tonight, turn us off.
Yeah, he got all hot about a spoiler I sent out earlier. So
You did tweet a spoiler on Tuesday. You, David Hero,
Well,
did.
It's my own personal account. I
He
can
shouldn't
put whatever-
follow you then.
Absolutely. Then don't follow me.
Brand new World Heavyweight Champion to be crowned tonight on SmackDown as Jack. Well, I should let you say this because, you're going to just say, oh, who predicted that? So just go right ahead.
Who did predict it first? Of
This
all?
guy I know named Dave.
The All-American American, Jack Swagger.
No, the All-American American. That's what he said on Ramen, isn't it?
Wow. The All-American American, Jack Swagger is your new world champion on SmackDown.
Defeating Chris Jericho, cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase very quickly on SmackDown this Friday night after Edge beat down Jericho. Jack Swagger, the new World Heavyweight Champion. Here are the points I think need to be made in regards to this situation. Not 6 months ago, John Cena loses the title to Sheamus.
Right.
Sheamus, this new kid, becomes the champion. Now, Jack Swagger gets a chance at the championship. As the champion, rather. There are still people out there saying WWE is not building new stars, not taking chances.
They've been
This is
taking
further
chances.
proof that that is just bunk.
Absolutely. I mean, they're building new stars with Sheamus,
It's a shame!
Jack Swagger,
Dagger!
Evan Bourne. I mean, they're going in the right direction.
They are. Kofi Kingston. I guess David Otunga.
They're trying.
You think I can get some stars carved in the side of my head? I can grow hair there still.
Like Teddy Hart.
What was that?
That was Teddy Hart.
I know that was Teddy Hart, but what had happened to his
It was
head?
the Road Atlas. I mean,
Hey now.
I couldn't sit still that long if someone, bust out a coloring book and do that to my head,
Oh, yeah. Jack Swagger's a new World Heavyweight Champion. Shocking, to say the least.
You know what? He's going to look weird with that belt around his waist. But think about it. Someone told me he was like Brock Lesnar light.
Yeah.
His
His arms are about as long, I think.
I mean, you know what? Good for Jack Swagger. I mean, people are going to say, oh, he didn't pay his dues. He did. He's an All-American NCAA champion. He's been in OVW. He's been in Florida Championship Wrestling. Obviously, they see some potential in him. And you know what? He may not be a champion for 6 months. He may not be 6 weeks. But at least they're going to try and just see what they can do with him and how many. Just let's face it. Does Jericho and Edge really need to feud over the world title?
And that was going to be the question. Can Jericho further elevate Jack Swagger? Obviously, they're going to be a program together because Jericho's just not going to run away.
Yeah, I mean, the winner of Edge and Jericho get Swagger at Extreme Rules.
Okay.
I think what's great about that is it's a match, much like the table match, where Jack Swagger can win because it'll be a gimmick, where he can put him through a table, or who knows what kind of gimmick match it'll be, but it'll be a way where Swagger can cheat to win and just keep the momentum going. Swagger could very well be champion through SummerSlam.
Well, now you said Sheamus would keep it through WrestleMania. That
I
didn't quite
was
happen
only a
that
few
way.
weeks off. I can't be right all the time. If I did, I'd just be my show by myself. What would you be doing?
We want you to remember to follow us on Twitter. We're all on Twitter individually, and if you want spoilers on Tuesdays, follow David. If you want a spoiler-free zone, follow me.
I haven't spoiled any other match but this one.
That is true. And this was spoilable. And quite frankly, you were late to the table.
Well, I was sleeping. Come on,
We're all on Twitter, including the Pro Wrestling Report PWR show is the Twitter username. And also, don't forget to grab that iTunes app. It's been moving big numbers and available to you in the iTunes store. Just search Pro Wrestling Report and go ahead and bring that app with you. You can listen to the show live, call into the show, send us messages, all kinds of fun stuff.
Do you know who has the app on their iPhones?
Who that?
Hornswoggle, Mr. Anderson. Because
Why wouldn't
they know we are the pulse.
It's the app to have. We are the award-winning Pro Wrestling Report.
Absolutely.
I want to say thank you to all the people we had the privilege and honor of meeting in Phoenix, Arizona at Baby's Steak and Lemonade. Tremendous food there, by the way.
It was awesome.
Amazing food. Thank you so much for coming out and being a part of the Pro Wrestling Report television tapings at Baby's, and we're already in the planning stages for the ATL Atlanta. I'm trying to get Usher and Whitney Houston to come on the show. They live there,
Really?
Yeah. Well, it'd be fun to watch. Whitney especially.
You wouldn't rather have Buff Bagwell?
Well, the last time he was on the show didn't go so well.
Okay. That wasn't my fault.
He lives in ATL?
Absolutely.
Thanks to everybody who came down and was a part of it, and thanks to Armando Estrada for being so hospitable to us.
And we got to thank his brother Mike.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Mike, who was on PWR.
Obviously, Mike, he is the guy that runs the ship.
Well, now.
No.
We know he had to open a couple mornings.
Yes. But I mean, Mike is the guy. He's the heart and soul of Babies.
Rock and roll?
Absolutely.
Who did we see at Babies? Evan Bourne, Beth Phoenix,
MVP.
Kofi Kingston, JTG.
Yeah, he was there.
Don't you do that.
Who didn't we see?
Right. That was the place to be. It really was.
Sonny, Jim Cornette. We saw them all.
Jim Cornette. Can I quote him? Can I say it?
Absolutely.
We're talking about basically nothing, but Jim Cornette just keeps going, which is what's great about him. Vince Russo comes up and he says...
No, the topic of Vince Russo came up.
Yes, exactly.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
And he says, man, Vince Russo couldn't book Lassie in a pet store. This has been the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you again next week right here on, where are we? Time Warner Cable. Bye-bye.